After the breakup, Huang Yimei focused more on her work. The project progressed very smoothly, and the company held a celebration party. As she drank ginger ale, she couldn't help but recall the moments she shared with Huang Guodong. Her mood hit rock bottom, and she stared blankly at the corner of the table, unable to control her tears. They had been so happy together. I wished Huang Guodong was by her side at that moment. I hated to see Huang Yimei sad and crying. While preparing for a charity art exhibition, she met many children with psychological issues, which sparked her interest in studying psychology. She understood that the breakup with Huang Guodong influenced her decision to some extent, but it was not the decisive factor. Love is important, but it is not the only thing. This breakup allowed Huang Yimei to discover a new version of herself and establish new life goals. As the school term approached, Huang Yimei packed her belongings and traveled from Beijing to Shanghai. Among the many students, Huang Yimei's beauty might have been unique. Indeed, Fang Xiaowen was attracted to her. Fang Xiaowen was a third-year graduate student in the computer science department. Handsome and academically excellent, he remained indifferent to the advances of junior students. He fell in love with Huang Yimei at first sight and found her information from the new student registration form. Huang Yimei quickly adapted to campus life and took a part-time job at a German beer house in her spare time, trying to keep herself as busy as possible. Campus life made her feel fulfilled, and the fewer people she thought about, the fewer emotional collisions she experienced. Fang Xiaowen secretly kept a close eye on Huang Yimei. When he found out she was working part-time at a German beer house, he also took a job there, trying every possible way to get close to her. Coming from Beijing, Huang Yimei couldn't understand the Shanghai dialect and was troubled by some difficult customers. Fang Xiaowen arrived in time to help her out, and Huang Yimei felt grateful. One day, while at work, Huang Yimei received a call from her brother, Huang Zhenhua. He told her he was going on a business trip to Germany and would visit Huang Guodong. Huang Zhenhua didn't want to see his sister harboring a thorn in her heart. Huang Yimei asked Huang Zhenhua to bring the house keys to Huang Guodong, but specifically reminded him not to give her phone number to Huang Guodong. After hanging up the phone, she couldn't help but cry softly. Fang Xiaowen, standing behind her, saw everything clearly. Huang Guodong couldn't help but ask Huang Zhenhua about Huang Yimei. Huang Zhenhua, unwilling to see the two lovers become strangers, advised Huang Guodong to return to Beijing and start anew with Huang Yimei. However, Huang Guodong was reluctant to give up everything he had achieved. He had worked tirelessly to secure the position of marketing manager and wanted to stay at the headquarters. Huang Zhenhua felt sorry for them but was helpless. Rose, Huang Yimei suddenly heard Huang Guodong calling her, and she froze. From a distance, she saw Huang Guodong running towards her, and her heart skipped a beat. A voice behind her, Huang, brought her back to reality. In fact, Huang Yimei still had feelings for Huang Guodong. If Huang Guodong were to return to China now, they would surely be together again. Huang Yimei adopted a stray cat, and Fang Xiaowen offered to help her take care of it. He immediately took leave to find a place to live. After looking at several apartments, he had to abandon each due to landlords not allowing pets. In the end, he was forced to rent a duplex. Coincidentally, Huang Yimei was looking to rent a place, and Fang Xiaowen was secretly delighted. He rented the upstairs unit to Huang Yimei. A girl who admired Fang Xiaowen heard about the situation and came to find Huang Yimei. The girl claimed to be Fang Xiaowen's girlfriend and told Huang Yimei to stay away from her boyfriend. Huang Yimei ignored her. Fang Xiaowen was very caring towards Huang Yimei and always wanted to get close to her. However, Huang Yimei suddenly changed from her previous enthusiasm and ignored his attentions. She even started looking for a new place to move out. Huang Yimei's mother came to Shanghai to visit her. She invited Fang Xiaowen to join them for dinner. Fang Xiaowen was naturally happy to oblige, and he even helped Huang Yimei's mother with the preparations. At the dinner table, Fang Xiaowen talked about how his father passed away early, and he had been living with his mother ever since, leading a very frugal life. He confessed that he didn't dare to date because he couldn't provide a better life for a girlfriend. Huang Yimei felt a bit relieved. The next day, Fang Xiaowen waited for Huang Yimei early in the morning to go to school together. As the beer house was about to close, a couple walked in. While they were eating, they started arguing. Fueled by alcohol, the man slapped the woman. Unable to tolerate the man's behavior, Huang Yimei stepped forward to criticize him. Fang Xiaowen, standing by, tried to calmly persuade the man to come to his senses. The man demanded that Huang Yimei apologize to him. Huang Yimei steadfastly refused, which angered the man. He pushed Huang Yimei to the ground. Fang Xiaowen, in response, started punching the man repeatedly. The two ended up fighting each other. Huang Yimei accompanied Fang Xiaowen to the hospital to get bandaged up, taking care of him meticulously. The winter in Shanghai was very cold. Huang Yimei even brought her electric blanket for Fang Xiaowen to use, warming his heart. Just as Fang Xiaowen was about to kiss Huang Yimei, a kitten suddenly interrupted. Huang Yimei bought a cake and made noodles. It was Fang Xiaowen's birthday today. Seeing what Huang Yimei had done for him, Fang Xiaowen was deeply moved. Huang Yimei sang the birthday song, and Fang Xiaowen, unable to contain himself, kissed her. Huang Yimei kissed him back, and thus, their relationship was confirmed. Huang Yimei had just graduated from graduate school when she applied for a job at a publishing house. Thanks to her excellent professional skills and unique innovative thinking, she won the editor-in-chief's appreciation and was hired on the spot. Meanwhile, Fang Xiaowen was leading his team to work overtime on software development, which was going smoothly, with only the final testing remaining. Their colleague, Zhou, was distracted because his mother was seriously ill. Fang Xiaowen let him go home to take care of his mother and took over his tasks. In the evening, the landlord came to collect the rent from Fang Xiaowen, who was still at work. Huang Yimei learned from the landlord that for the past 3 years, Fang Xiaowen had been covering half of her rent without her knowing. She was a bit upset and asked Fang Xiaowen if there was anything else he was hiding from her. Fang Xiaowen had no choice but to confess that he had fallen in love with her at first sight. He had taken a job at the beer house to get closer to her, and their rented apartment was decorated according to her preferences. Huang Yimei didn't know whether to laugh or cry after hearing this. The next morning, Fang Xiaowen arrived at the company only to find out that something had gone wrong. It turned out that a colleague had accidentally overwritten the client's data while burning the disk. However, Fang Xiaowen clearly remembered personally confirming the data. In the end, Fang Xiaowen took the blame for his colleague's mistake and resigned from the company. Feeling dejected, he walked home in the rain and broke up with Huang Yimei face to face. Fang Xiaowen had nothing left and his future seemed bleak. He didn't want to drag down Huang Yimei. However, Huang Yimei smiled as she listened to him, encouraging Fang Xiaowen to stay strong. Not only did she refuse to break up, but she also wanted to marry him. One could only say that Fang Xiaowen's timing was truly perfect. This man was incredibly fortunate. When Fang Xiaowen wanted to start his own business, Huang Yimei used all her savings to support him. She helped clean up his office space and even introduced clients to him. "Zhuang Guodong, Huang Yimei is about to be taken away. Where are you?" Huang Yimei came to the company to see Fang Xiaowen, who asked her for feedback on the new website. By chance, Huang Yimei saw on the website that Golan Group was about to cooperate with Qingting Company, meaning Zhuang Guodong was coming back. Sure enough, Zhuang Guodong returned and discussed cooperation projects with Jiang Xueqiong. Zhuang Guodong directly asked Su Gengsheng about Huang Yimei's news. As Huang Yimei's good friend, Su Gengsheng reminded Zhuang Guodong that since he had made his decision initially, he should not entangle Huang Yimei again. Early in the morning, Huang Yimei rushed to work in a panic. Accidentally, she bumped into someone and looked up to see Zhuang Guodong. "Long time no see. I came back to see you," he said, which left Huang Yimei flustered for a long time. She quickly made an excuse about being late for work and slipped away. Zhuang Guodong waited for Huang Yimei downstairs at the company the whole day. Although she was physically present at work, Huang Yimei couldn't focus at all. She kept glancing downstairs at Zhuang Guodong pacing back and forth. This continued until late at night when Huang Yimei carefully checked and confirmed that Zhuang Guodong's figure had disappeared. She hurriedly packed up and left for home. Just as she stepped out, Zhuang Guodong called out to her. He invited Huang Yimei to have dinner together. During the meal, Zhuang Guodong asked Huang Yimei why she studied psychology, wondering if it was because of him. Huang Yimei joked that he was too presumptuous. She pointed out that the biggest difference between them was that Zhuang Guodong meticulously planned every step. After hearing this, Zhuang Guodong was speechless. Even now, he couldn't understand why Huang Yimei had broken up with him. After dinner, Huang Yimei insisted on paying the bill. Zhuang Guodong asked to see her again, but Huang Yimei refused and decisively left in a taxi. Sitting in the car, tears streamed down Huang Yimei's face as the pain of past love surged back. Meanwhile, Zhuang Guodong watched Huang Yimei leave, feeling a mix of emotions. Back at home, Huang Yimei couldn't stop vomiting. Fang Xiaowen was curious about who Huang Yimei had been drinking with. She remained tight-lipped, but Fang Xiaowen found a restaurant receipt in her pocket. The next morning, he went to the restaurant and watched the surveillance footage, seeing Huang Yimei and Zhuang Guodong together. He felt a pang of sourness in his heart. That night, instead of confronting Huang Yimei, Fang Xiaowen handed over all his belongings including bank cards, company licenses, and financial records, then proposed to her on the spot. Touched, Huang Yimei agreed. Zhuang Guodong returned to the home he once shared with Huang Yimei, now filled with emptiness. He touched the paintings on the wall, feeling uneasy. Huang Zhenhua handed Huang Yimei her household registration book, confirming her sincerity about marriage and not just escaping from Zhuang Guodong. Huang Yimei openly admitted that Zhuang Guodong's reappearance didn't affect her decision. The next day, Zhuang Guodong went to the publishing house to find Huang Yimei but learned she had taken leave for her wedding. He was stunned. He called her repeatedly, but Huang Yimei didn't answer. He texted her, pleading her not to get married. Huang Yimei staggered to the door, where Zhuang Guodong asked her to wait, saying he would come right away. Fang Xiaowen followed and asked Huang Yimei what was wrong. She quickly made up a lie to cover the situation. After much thought, Huang Yimei confessed the truth to Fang Xiaowen. Her ex-boyfriend, Shuang Guodong, was rushing from Beijing to Yanji. As soon as Shuang Guodong got off the train, he called Huang Yimei asking for the address. When Shuang Guodong arrived in a hurry, Huang Yimei held Fang Xiaowen's hand and told Shuang Guodong that he was her husband. They had already registered their marriage. He stood stunned for a long time before managing to say, "Congratulations, best wishes." The next day, Huang Yimei and Fang Xiaowen officially registered their marriage. Shuang Guodong had missed his chance again. Fang Xiaowen, that man, called Shuang Guodong to meet, bringing a box of wedding candies. Both men appeared calm and smiled. Fang Xiaowen told Shuang Guodong that they had not yet registered last time they met. Fang Xiaowen did this just to embarrass Shuang Guodong. Shuang Guodong smiled and said nothing, calling the waiter to order food. Fang Xiaowen claimed that Huang Yimei was waiting at home to dine together. Shuang Guodong replied that Huang Yimei was a broad-minded person who accepted faults because of her strong tolerance, not because she lacked standards. Shuang Guodong said he wouldn't have any inappropriate thoughts as long as Huang Yimei was happy. Fang Xiaowen swore to make Huang Yimei happy. Shuang Guodong asked the waiter to pack up the food and let Fang Xiaowen take it back to Huang Yimei. When Shuang Guodong left, he also took the wedding candies, but they were thrown into the trash can. Fang Xiaowen was already insecure, and now his self-esteem suffered an unprecedented blow, leaving him feeling uneasy. Fortunately, Fang Xiaowen loved Huang Yimei more, preventing his inexplicable self-esteem from taking over. Soon after, Huang Yimei discovered she was pregnant, and they rejoiced with happiness. Huang Yimei took a bus to work but fainted halfway. The doctor advised her to stay in the hospital for observation for 2 days. Huang Yimei doesn't want to waste time because of work. Concerned about the baby's development, Fang Xiaowen went to Huang Yimei's company to resign on her behalf. He also brought his mother from their hometown to take care of Huang Yimei. When Fang's mother cooked, she added too much sauce, which Huang Yimei couldn't eat. Fang Xiaowen reminded his mother not to, and she complained in their local dialect. Huang Yimei felt uncomfortable. When Huang Yimei returned to work, her colleagues informed her that Fang Xiaowen had already processed her resignation. She pleaded with the editor for another chance, but it was beyond his control. Angry, Huang Yimei called Fang Xiaowen to come home immediately. He made excuses about having an interview later but promised to be home on time after work. Fang's mother sided with him. Huang Yimei left angrily. She tried to confide in Susu over the phone, but Susu was busy. Huang Yimei, pregnant and alone, cried bitterly. Fang Xiaowen apologized to Huang Yimei and urged her to stay home and rest. He even said they didn't rely on her salary to support the family, which offended her. They argued, and Fang's mother criticized Huang Yimei in their local dialect. Unable to bear it anymore, Huang Yimei demanded they both speak Mandarin. Fang Xiaowen accused Huang Yimei of being unreasonable, reminding her that his mother had come from their hometown to take care of her. Huang Yimei smiled bitterly. Fang's mother hovered around Huang Yimei incessantly, scrutinizing her every move, suffocating her. Huang Yimei found a brief escape when Fang's mother wasn't looking and slipped out of the house. Walking aimlessly, she felt an unprecedented sense of relief. On her way back, she bought a bouquet of flowers. Fang's mother criticized her for spending money unnecessarily and stirred up trouble with Fang Xiaowen. Although Fang Xiaowen defended Huang Yimei's right to spend her own money, he secretly suspected the flowers were a gift from someone else. Using the excuse of insufficient down payment for a house, Fang Xiaowen took all the money Huang Yimei had left. Determined to evade Fang's mother's surveillance, Huang Yimei went out every day to clear her mind. When she spotted a child's drawing she admired, she couldn't gather the 50 yuan needed to buy it, feeling a deep, irreplaceable ache of helplessness and despair. Huang Yimei's parents rushed from Beijing to visit her. Fang Xiaowen believed they came unexpectedly to check if she was doing well. He suspected that Huang Yimei had complained to her parents and accused her of disrespecting his mother. Fang Xiaowen vented all his anger on Huang Yimei, refusing to listen to her explanations, and went to bed in a huff. Later, when Huang Yimei discussed returning to Beijing with her parents, Fang Xiaowen disagreed. He suspected she wanted to see Shuang Guodong in Beijing and claimed that since Huang Yimei was now part of the Fang family, she was not allowed to go anywhere. Huang Yimei regretted having introduced Fang Xiaowen to Shuang Guodong. Since then, Fang Xiaowen had been constantly suspicious of Huang Yimei, always comparing himself to Shuang Guodong. Huang Yimei went into labor early, and Huang Zhenhua and Susu rushed to Shanghai to be with her. In the delivery room, Huang Yimei was in excruciating pain. Huang Zhenhua, anxious and restless, urged Fang Xiaowen to sign the epidural consent form. Fang's mother firmly disagreed, insisting on a natural birth. Huang Zhenhua, unable to bear it any longer, forced Fang Xiaowen to sign the consent form. Reluctantly, Fang Xiaowen signed the document. Huang Yimei successfully gave birth to a daughter, much to Huang Zhenhua's delight. However, Fang's mother was displeased that Huang Yimei had given birth to a girl. As spring of 2009 arrived, Fang Xiaowen accidentally saw Huang Yimei preparing for the psychological counselor exam. He immediately decided to send his mother back home so that Huang Yimei wouldn't have extra time to study. Fang's mother was very displeased, feeling that she was being sent back home as soon as the new house was bought. Fang Xiaowen promised that once Huang Yimei was pregnant with their second child, he would definitely bring her back. After the new house was renovated, the three of them lived a simple, peaceful life. Huang Yimei was going to an interview at an international school and asked Fang Xiaowen to take care of their daughter at home. Fang Xiaowen initially made excuses about having work at the company, then suggested Huang Yimei change her dress to pants. Not wanting to argue in front of their child, Huang Yimei left the house in a huff. During the interview for the art teacher position, she answered fluently, presented the certificates she had earned over the past 3 years, and even provided a proposal. The school leaders responsible for the interview were very impressed with her. Fang Xiaowen had no intention of taking care of the child at home. When Fang Taichu got hungry, Fang Xiaowen had no choice but to prepare dinner for his daughter. While playing, Fang Taichu accidentally dropped an egg on the floor, and Fang Xiaowen flew into a rage, causing his daughter to cry uncontrollably. Huang Yimei happened to come home, heard her daughter crying, and hurriedly picked her up to comfort her. Fang Xiaowen yelled at Huang Yimei, telling her to stop working and prepare for a second child, preferably a son. Huang Yimei insisted on working and did not want to have a second child. Huang Yimei was teaching her daughter to be independent, which greatly displeased Fang Xiaowen. When Huang Yimei heard that her brother Huang Zhenhua was having relationship issues with Susu, she quickly packed her bags to go back to Beijing. She called Fang Xiaowen and asked him to take care of their daughter. Fang Xiaowen forbade her from returning to Beijing and shouted at her. Huang Yimei hung up the phone directly. She took her daughter with her back to Beijing, leaving a note for Fang Xiaowen before leaving. When Fang Xiaowen came home from work and saw the note, he was furious and called Huang Yimei to scold her. Huang Yimei turned off her phone. In Beijing, Jiang Shuaqiong and Huang Yimei went for a manicure together, and Jiang Shuaqiong mentioned her desire to open an art gallery. Huang Yimei was very impressed with Jiang's boldness. Fang Xiaowen returned home after work to an empty house and accidentally discovered an email from an international school offering Huang Yimei a job. After much thought, Fang Xiaowen called teacher Liu and lied, saying that Huang Yimei was pregnant and couldn't work. When they got home, Fang Xiaowen eagerly asked his daughter about who they had been with and where they had gone in Beijing. Huang Yimei was very annoyed. Fang Xiaowen saw Huang Yimei's manicure and felt very displeased. Huang Yimei checked her email and found no job offer notification. Fang Xiaowen then suggested that their daughter have Huang Yimei sleep with her, so Huang Yimei reluctantly lay down on the big bed. After their daughter was lulled to sleep, Fang Xiaowen tried to make amends with Huang Yimei, but she quickly got up and left. Fang Xiaowen secretly installed a tracking app on Huang Yimei's phone when he saw she left it behind. Huang Yimei went to the school to ask teacher Liu about the interview results. Teacher Liu bluntly told her that she had passed the interview, but Fang Xiaowen had declined on her behalf, claiming she was pregnant. Huang Yimei called Fang Xiaowen and told him to come straight home after work. That evening, Huang Yimei quietly waited for Fang Xiaowen and directly asked for a divorce. Fang Xiaowen adamantly refused, accusing Huang Yimei of having an affair and threatening to prevent her from seeing their daughter. Huang Yimei decided to file for divorce and fight for custody of their daughter. In the following days, Fang Xiaowen found various excuses to avoid communicating with Huang Yimei. Left with no other option, Huang Yimei filed for divorce. However, the judge believed that their relationship could still be repaired and rejected her petition, citing insufficient grounds for divorce. Huang Yimei decided to file for divorce again in 6 months. One evening, Fang Xiaowen drank heavily and, intoxicated, returned home, boasting in front of Huang Yimei about his youthful success and claiming he earned more money than her entire family. Eventually, he was hospitalized due to alcohol poisoning. When he woke up and saw Huang Yimei and their daughter by his bedside, he felt deeply conflicted. Huang Yimei urged him to take better care of himself and to stop drinking so much. Seeing Huang Yimei's resolute attitude, Fang Xiaowen agreed to proceed with the divorce after his discharge from the hospital. Huang Yimei packed her things and returned to Beijing with her daughter. In 2013, Huang Yimei and Jiang Shuaqiong partnered to open an art gallery. While Huang Yimei was sharing her ideas on a design plan, she suddenly heard someone call out Rose. She turned around to see Zhuang Guodong, her first love. Over the years, Zhuang Guodong had continuously advanced in his career, while Huang Yimei had opened the gallery after her divorce. Zhuang Guodong asked Huang Yimei to give him another chance, expressing his desire to pursue her once more.